Hello guys, how are you? Today I'm going to read the newspaper, the Hindu editorial part. So my topic is Redraw welfare architecture plays a UBI in us in the center. As India's wealth gap stretched to level unseen since independence and technology races ahead of policy, we find ourselves hurtling toward a collision of crises, job shedding, automation, gi- economy, partiality, climate-driven displacement, and a mental health time to bomb fed by chronic insecurity. At this moment, ideas such as universal basic income (UBI) owns dismissed as utopian deserve a fresh, prag- pragmatic look. A UBI can cushion mass unemployment, restoring consumer demand when machines outnumbers workers, rewarding unpaid care that propose up the formal economy and rebuilding a social contract frayed by pandemics and capitalism alike. In India, where welfare systems are often plagued by insufficiencies, exclusions, and complex eligibility filter, a UBI offers a radical yet simple proposition: a periodic unconditional cash transfer to every citizen, irrespective of income or employment status. Re-examining it is no longer an academic indulgence, it is an urgent policy imperative by embedding dignity, autonomy, and simplicity into its design. A UBI challenges us to rethink what a welfare state ought to provide in the 21st century. University, the primary strength of a UBI, where Wismarkian and Beveridgean model pegs security to past employment or bureaucratic proof of hardship. A UBI anchors it in citizenship alone, transforming social protection into a streamlined rights-based pipeline that is resilient to autonomous automation shocks, climate emergencies, and the invisible labor of care. It bypasses the administrative complexities of targeted welfare and removes the stigma associated with poverty based entitlement. It aims to create a basic floor of income security for all, ensuring that no one is left behind due to bureaucratic lapses or conditional access. The argument for UBI in India's current welfare landscape, though expensive, remain fragmented and uneven. Schemes suffer from leakage, duplication, and exclusion. UBI offers a way to streamline welfare delivery, particularly as digital infrastructure such as Aadhaar and direct benefit transfer platform matters, but the argument for a UBI is not just administrative, it is fundamentally moral and economic. The micro number flatter us earlier this year. The Press Information Bureau claimed that India ranked fourth globally in income equality, citing the consumption-based Gini index. However, this measure focus on household expenditure, not income or wealth, and thus mask the true extent of economic inequality. According to the World Inequality Database, India's wealth inequality Gini stood at 75 in 2023, the top 1% of population own 40% of national wealth, while top 10% control nearly 77%. These figures suggest a level of concentration unseen since colonial time. At the same time, India's GDP growth 8.4 in 23 to 24 has failed to translate into broad-based prosperity. Novel Novel literature Joseph Stiglitz has long argued that GDP, while measuring economic output, does not account for the quality of life, environmental stability, or equality. This disconnect is underscored by India's ranking of 126 out of 137 countries in the 2023 World Happiness Report, behind Nepal, Bangladesh, and Pakistan. GDP-centric narratives obscure rising precarity, job insecurity, and social stress. A modest unconditional deposit lending in every Jan Dhan account without without forms of favors means that a gig worker can buy vegetable even when the app is quiet, and rickshaw driver's child can start the school term with new shoes. So a UBI chip, a way to stream concentration, reduce the lure of one of freebies, and anchor growth in every kitchen rather than just in quarterly spread spreadsheet spreadsheets. Pilot studies within India, including the Self-Employment Women's Association led initiative in Madhya Pradesh 20, 2011 to 2013, found the UBI receptionist experience better nutrition, increased school attendance, and higher earning. International trails in Finland, Kenya, and Iran showed similar result with improved mental health and food security without reducing willingness to work. Automation and artificial intelligence add urgency to the case for a UBI, according to a Mc- McKinsey Global Institute report. Up to 800 million jobs worldwide could be displaced by 2030 due to autonomous. India's semi-skilled and informal workforce is especially vulnerable. UBI can provide a buffer during this transition, allowing time for upskills and repositioning in the labor market. It will rework the citizen-state relationship. The philosophical case for a UBI is equally compelling. For decades, the relationship between the citizen and the state has been largely transactional, transactional, defined by market participation and economic contribution. A UBI offers a structural antidote to the very populist consumer as voter politics. Shruti Kapila critiques it removes the political incentive to dangle at HOC freebies, free power here alone heavier than there that parties deploy a manufactured short-term elegance when income security is decoupled from partisan largesse. Voters are less hostage to transactional giveaways and more empowered to judge in government or on systematic outcome. Quality of school, rule of law, and ecological stewardship. In this sense, a UBI shifts the relationship from consumer consumerism, vote me in the get subsidies unit of electricity, back to citizen. You already possess a basic economic right, now demand good governance. It replaces the politics by paternal patrons by with a right-based social contract, un, undercutting populist schemes that thrive on scarcity, targeted subsidies, and moral grandstanding. Worries that a basic income check would make everyday prices explode don't match how people live where such checks already exist. Big inflation, Weimar and Zimbabwe's happened when factories shut and debts were owned in the foreign money, not because ordinary people got a little extra spending money. Fund UBI responsibly keep the self-talk and it become a cousin again. Hardship not a spark for a price hike. Rather than dismiss a UBI as physically unviable or politically risky, we must engage with it, it seriously as a tool to reduce poverty, mitigate inequality, and strengthen democratic citizenship. It is important to recognize that a UBI is not a panacea. It will not by itself create job, fix public health system, or transform education outcome. But it can serve a base, providing a minimum level of economic security upon which individual can build lives of agency and aspiration. It also recognizes recognizes and support unpaid labor, especially the care work undertaken predominantly by women, which remains invisible in traditional economic metrics. A UBI is not about the promoting dependency, it is about the expanding opportunity. Some issues such as funding, despite to promise a UBI raise legit legitimate corners a minimal UBI of 7620 a person year, equivalent to the poverty line, would cost around 5% of India's GDP. Funding such as initiative would require either raising taxes, rationalizing subsidies, or increasing borrowing of each of which has it in economic implication. Moreover, a UBI universality could dilute its redistributive intent by allocating resources to affluent sections alongside the poor. A practical way forward would be to introduce a UBI in phases. Vulnerable group women, the elderly person with disabilities, and low income workers could be prioritized. This targeted rollout would allow for evaluation and infrastructure building before full-scale implementation. Implementation a UBI could also complement rather than replace essential schemes such as the Public Distribution System, it's called PDS, and Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Particularly in early stages, another key challenge is technological access with Aadhaar and Jandhan have expanded financial inclusion gap, remain in digital literacy mobile access and bank connectivity, particularly in tribal, remote, and under-reserved areas. These gaps must be closed to prevent exclusion from a scheme intent to be universal. As the Indian state seeks to modernize its welfare architecture, UBI deserve a central place in the conversation. History suggests that India will revisit the question sooner than we think. The calculus is no longer can we afford UBI but can be afforded by the democratic cost of mass insecurity. University note means testing in the architecture fit for the 21st century welfare. So I have completed this passage. So this passage introduce the what is UBI. UBI full form is Universal Basic Income. It means uh, what is basic income, what is basic necessity for human beings. Like income can measure the prosperity of human being, like how many money you earn in a month or year. So this measure cannot uh, show or gives the idea of what is the environmental state of human being, like health health education, uh, stress level, and happiness index. So If we are talking about GDP show only wealth like structure like income, not about the health condition, happiness index, and other important things. We are fourth largest economy in the world in respect to GDP. But we are talking about happiness index. There is 127 countries in participate, but we are lising on 121 countries. We are beyond the Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal. So this is not exact measure of wealth. If we are measuring the wealth scale, so we have to measure happiness index, environment, environmental condition, fresh water, fresh air, availability of electricity, mortality rate, and uh, sex ratio. So these are the some factor of measuring the wealth of human being. Wealth is not in the term of money, it is a sum of the everything, so it's called wealth. Thank you so much for this video. If you want to anything, if you want to change in anything in this video, you can comment on this video. If you want to get a newspaper, the Hindu, you can message me in the comment box. Thank you so much.